Hello and welcome back to Yorkshire Talks. I'm Matt Jameson.
And I'm Christine Talbot, and together we're meeting a whole new generation of Yorkshire folk with a different story to tell, finding out what makes them tick, all about their lives and why they love God's own country.
We're delighted to say that this episode is sponsored by patient.info, the UK's leading information health website.
With trusted evidence-based advice written by health professionals, it's a place where millions of people are turning to every month to make informed decisions about their health and well-being.
So for reliable tools, articles and information resources, why not visit patient.info?
How are you?
I'm
okay?
all right.
Good to see you.
I think I got that out all right.
You did it perfectly. It's the first time we've done it in one take, isn't it?
I know, exactly. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. What have you been up to?
What have I been up to?
We've been talking. I know as this goes out, this will have all happened. Hopefully, you'll have a number one single.
Possibly. Yeah. We spoke about it
We'll
before.
be finding out more about that again in a minute.
We will indeed. And yeah, I've just been very busy all over the place. I was at a wedding fair at the weekend.
Right.
I'm not getting married.
No,
But
you're a celebrant now.
I'm a celebrant now, so that was fun.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Meeting some, what they got? Two wed bees?
Two
Ooh,
wed
two wed
bees.
bees.
Two wed bees. What is a wed bee?
Because they're not
a couple?
couples. But there's another phrase that was used. Two wed bees. Two weds.
You making a new word up every time we do a podcast.
I know, I'm just making it up.
Anyway, I think it's time we introduced our next guest, isn't it?
We do. So now, this week's guest is a good friend of mine, and he has had an amazing music career so far, shooting to fame on the reality TV show Let It Shine back in 2017 as one of the nation's amazing bands Take That, and it was a musical that was putting together The Band.
I remember it well. Last year, he was back on our screens in The Voice, where he was mentored by Tom Jones. He made it all the way to almost the very end, and he absolutely wowed the audiences and the judges with his amazing voice.
He also has had an incredible record with working with charities and a charity ambassador, bone cancer research, one of those, and also Cash for Kids as well. But most recently, as Christine's already just mentioned, we were both involved in a charity single with home carers from across the UK.
Yeah, exciting stuff. Now, his most recent album, The Green Time Machine, hit the charts, and that showcases his incredible voice. And I'm going to get him to show that off a little bit during this podcast. Please welcome Kuill. Lovely to have you with us.
Guys, you okay? Glad to be here.
It's really nice to meet you. I know you and Matt are good friends. You've been knowing each other how long?
Yeah.
About 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, we keep, sometimes we cross at different events that we don't know we're going to be at, and then sometimes we work together on events. So it's quite nice, actually, to see a familiar face often.
Yeah,
it's been fun. And we have a good laugh.
Yeah,
we do.
I am fascinated by your name, spelt
cool, yeah.
Kuill. Where does that come from? It's not your original birth name, is it?
It's not. So Kuill is kind of a homage to a writing quill, which is normally spelt with a Q. But if you type that into Google, you get 100,000 feathers pop up. So that's not very good for a musician. But yeah, it kind of pays homage to my roots as a songwriter and allowed me the opportunity to rebrand a bit. It's got some nerdy connotations as well, but I can't say due to copyright because I don't want to get sued by Disney.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, we definitely don't want that.
I'll be googling that later.
It's nice and easy. All the fans got it straight away what I was going for. They know exactly why I'm called Kuill, but it is also one of them names that it's peculiar, it's weird. People are like, oh, what does that mean? It's a little bit like Adele. It's just kind of one word. And yeah, it was an opportunity for a rebrand for me just to focus in on what I was trying to achieve at the time. And it's worked, so I'm really happy.
And you know you've made it when you've got a one-word name.
This is
Madonna,
it on Instagram,
Adele,
which you've just
Kuill.
got 5-letter Instagram, you know you've made it.
You've done it.
That's brilliant. Take us right back to the beginning. So you were auditioned for a talent show, Let It Shine, back in 2017. Talk us a little bit through that. Why did you want to do that? And also, what was the experience like?
Gosh, yeah. So going to that first audition for Let It Shine was entirely an accident. So I was actually picking up some rugby players from Manchester Airport because we run a rugby club, and we had a few new players joining us, and my partner had heard that there was auditions for this and that Gary Barlow was involved and stuff. And obviously at the time I was just doing songwriting. So he actually entered me into that. And on the way back from picking up those rugby players, came to a building and just stopped the camera. It's like, oh, get out, there's this happening. So I didn't have any songs prepared, any backing tracks, nothing. Just went into the building and just had to kind of figure out what was going to happen. And I don't know if you're aware how some of these processes work on TV shows, but there's kind of a producer stage and another stage before you ever get to the TV bit. So I walk in and go to the desk and they say, yeah, we've got you pre-registered. And then you go into kind of a round table of 15 other young people, and you go around and you do like a 30-second a cappella song. So we're going round, blah blah blah. And
what did you sing? Can you
I
remember what you
sung
sang?
Corinne Bailey Rae, Put Your Records On.
Classic.
Which for me has a real personal significance in my life, which I'll tell you in a minute. And sung a bit of that song, sat down, everyone did the song. There was some suspect versions of songs. And then they just kind of called your number and says, can number 1 and 7 stand up? Can everyone else leave, please? And it was very much like that for a few rooms. So it was a bit intense. And then by the end of the day, I think it was about 6 hours or something, you go into another room. And thankfully for me, there was a piano, and I explained the fact that I didn't have a track prepared. So did they mind if I sit and play piano for it? So I think I sung Emily Sandé, Read All About It, and then kind of a more elaborate version of Put Your Records On. And then went home. And then I think it was months at the time. You had to wait like 2 or 3 months, and then heard back saying, we'd love for you to progress to the next stage. And that was like the beginning. And it was only at that point, because you have to kind of not get excited about these things early on, because you could just not be chosen for a really silly reason, like they've got too many young representatives from a certain area in the country, for example. So I didn't think anything of it, but thankfully they wanted me back. So then I went back and did a load more audition processes. And obviously it really did change my life for about 5-6 years, and opened the door to lots of opportunities, and some of the things I'm still seeing the effects of now, and the fan base it got me originally. You know, I've got fans who followed me from that show who this weekend is my last show of an 8-month tour, and I've got fans flying in from France, Singapore, Sweden, all over for this like last show, and they all stem from Let It Shine, I guess.
Gosh.
So yeah, super grateful.
Where did it all start? You were brought up in humble beginnings in Leeds, weren't you?
Yes, I can be really, really honest. I was an estate kid, lived in practically almost every major estate in Leeds, i.e. Gipton, Harehills, Seacroft, all of them. I've been and lived there. Big family. I always say this because it kind of puts the image in people's head, but my childhood was very much like Shameless, Channel 4. So that is my family. Super bare bones, you get what you get. And I remember like singing at parties and things when I was like 6 or 7, but I didn't actually start writing my own music till about 11, 12. And then I started high school, where I went to Agnes Stewart's high school, which obviously doesn't exist anymore. And I've got an amazing story, because when that school closed, I ended up getting like a load of awards for good grades and stuff. And you were there. You were hosting it, and it must have been around Easter, because Thornton's had made all of these Easter eggs with our names on it.
I remember,
and
yes.
you ended up giving me 8 Thornton's Easter eggs with my name on, and every time in a hug and a kiss. And Danny Maguire was there, and a few other fit rugby players. So it was amazing for me. And that was when I was like 13.
I didn't know we'd met before.
Yeah. So that was the first time we'd met, and obviously I was a tiny, smaller than I am now, tiny human being. And then obviously that school closed, ended up becoming David Young Community Academy, which is also now closed. And it goes on. And thankfully, I never really want to say this, but I always try and keep it really honest, because you've got to. But I owe a lot to the people around me in Yorkshire and kind of deprived areas who have helped me kind of push my career in certain directions. So for example, when I was 16, you know, I didn't have any money really. And my family's supporting obviously 6 siblings, so I didn't have any music equipment or whatever. And I used to travel at about 6 a.m. to my high school, so I could use the practice rooms and the studio and kind of perfect what I do. And the school took note, so they ended up doing this thing. I don't know how they did it. I think it was some sort of scheme. But they, for my 16th birthday, surprised me and went to my house in my bedroom and bought me like a keyboard and some speakers and a little music computer to do production. And a few other members of staff pitched in with like a mic stand and things like that.
They must have
And
really believed in you.
my vice principal, Lynn, who I still speak to now, she, when her mother passed away, her mother's favourite song was one of my original songs, and she requested it to be sung at a funeral. So there I was. I think that I was like, you know, just fresh 16, went to her mum's funeral and performed that song. And then as a gift for doing that, she got me my first studio mic, which I then recorded like a whole album on. And, you know, so I owe a lot to a lot of people.
You obviously had something everybody saw in you from that very young age, though.
I think, you know, talent is ever evolving. So I don't like to use the words I'm talented, because lots of people are talented. I think it's more about having the determination and commitment to a craft, of doing it so much that it kind of becomes inevitable that you're going to succeed, and it being able to see over that horizon, because, you know, there's a mountain of talent shows and a mountain of talented people that go on those shows. But sometimes if you get a knockback, a lot of people just go, oh, well, that's it. That's me done. Whereas I've never really done that. And I've experienced a lot of knockbacks in life and my career. But I've always come back, because that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So where does that determination come from then? You've already said about kind of your upbringing. And I love the Shameless comment as well, because it takes us straight back to the whole thing. Did you watch Shameless?
Yeah.
And so where did that determination come from then? And you've said that you get knockbacks, because I think especially in this industry, you do get knockbacks so many times and so many times. How do you find the resilience, and what was your motivation to keep going?
One of the key motivations was definitely my cultural background. Seeing, you know, again, I try and keep it as real as possible. Seeing some of my older brothers do very silly things with their lives, in and out of prison, doing crazy things that end up in the news and stuff. And I was like, I do not want to do that with my life. That's not the track I want to take. And then when you experience the setbacks of not getting a role, or auditioning for theatre or something and not getting that role, that hurts, but it makes you reevaluate. And if you want it enough, you work harder to, I guess, perfect what it is you're trying to achieve. And I think all of those little setbacks is what's made me adapt and evolve my voice and the way I write songs and the way I put things out there as well, I guess. And I'm really lucky. I've had kind of like 2 or 3 surges of things career-wise, and then it's been me that's backed off when I've had the opportunity to go further, and then I've come back and backed off. I guess it's always been about life balance for me, because it's very widely known in creative industries that you can get pigeonholed into certain things, and then you're left to kind of deal with the stresses and the trauma of stuff, and the outside world treats you very differently, and then you've got to go back to normal life. So for example, you know, when we won that show, the day after winning, we were flown to Cannes, performed at this big fancy service thing with Gary at the piano. Then we went up on some presidential suite, and I'm stood there having a glass of red wine with Gary Barlow, who, when I was 11 years old, I was like listening to that music, pin up, imagining myself on stage with him, and there I am in France with Gary having
must have
a
been
sip
so
of wine.
surreal.
And then the day after that, we've flown out again to go film a music video with all of Take That and Robbie, where this massive white warehouse where Robbie brings his daughter, who's dekegging him every 5 minutes, and just like that surreal world. And then we're all walking forward and doing this thing, and we're handing off mics to each other, and Robbie flips his mic and passes it to me, like passing the baton, and then we do this jumpy thing, and you know, very, very fast moving, these weird things that you can't really describe to people how it feels. And then watching yourself after the X Factor finale on an advert, and watching yourself in a stadium, because Take That were on tour at the time, so they kept playing the video in the stadium, obviously, to promote the show. So seeing all of that, experiencing that, going on tour for like 3.5 years, doing the West End, doing all the crazy radio shows and TV shows, Lorraine and all of that stuff, and then going back to normal life is very jarring, and trying to explain that to people. Then when you get people come to, oh, what are you doing now? It's like, yeah, I'm still doing what I'm doing. It's just you're not seeing, you know, but this isn't, I'm not now front of, I'm behind in a producer room sort of thing. And yeah, it is. It's really weird. So I have a very good relationship with the other 4 boys I won that first show with, because it's a unique perspective, as in, you know, again, when I was at university, I went to Leicester, and it was an amazing experience. But I did have a pin-up of Ollie Murs, a really nice poster of Ollie Murs on my bedroom door, and I think it was within 8 months of having that poster on my door, I was on stage with Ollie Murs performing with him.
Oh my God.
Just really weird.
Pinch
and,
me moments.
really weird. And I'd worked with Matt Cardle from the X Factor as a songwriter, and then obviously I did Let It Shine, and Danny Minogue ended up being on the panel, who, you know, won X Factor with Matt Cardle. In fact, this is a really weird thing, and I'll have to see if I can remember it. I'd worked with Matt Cardle, and then 6 months after I'd done Let It Shine, and I'm stood there in one of the earlier recordings where we're doing like showcase. So Mel C was there, Ollie Murs, Kaiser Chiefs, who else was there? Beverly Knight and Busted. Yeah, so there was a lot of people, and we all had a different celebrity to do a showcase with, and then you get knocked out, traditional show style thing. And as I was stood there waiting to see if I was going to get picked, I looked around and I was like, this is really weird, because there's like 6 degrees of Matt Cardle all in the same space. Like within 6 months, we'd all done something with Matt Cardle. So you've got Beverly Knight, who had just done Memphis the musical with Matt Cardle. You'd had Mel C, who had done a single called Loving You with Matt Cardle. You'd had Martin Kemp, who had been his partner on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire with Matt Cardle. You had Gary Barlow, who had also done a song Run for Your Life with Matt Cardle. And then you'd had me, who just worked with him. And I was like, this is a bit bizarre. Like, what are the odds of all of these things lining up? And then the thing with Ollie and all of that. So for me, it felt, I don't want to say prophetic, but it definitely felt like this was meant to happen. At that point, I was like,
destiny.
this feels like
this is where I'm supposed to be right at this moment in time.
100%. It felt like all the little niggles and the sad days of thinking about stuff, and having experienced and watched all of those things in the last 2 years happen. And then I was like, whoa, I'm here as well. It's really weird to describe.
I think we all have moments like that. I know I've had moments like that as well, like with maths, and just knowing it just felt right at that time. And I'm sure there's been moments in your career as well.
There is a sense of destiny, isn't there, in you sometimes when you're young? You kind of almost have an idea of what might happen, and I think you make it happen in some way, don't you?
It back to that motivation thing of how do you get back up if you get knocked down. I think that's a key part of it, is that, you know, whenever something has gone a different way, my mental approach has been, well, that's clearly not destined for me. That's not the path that there's a reason why I've not got that. I don't know if you've ever heard of a group called Above and Beyond. So like, not a lot of people have heard of them, but they do the Sydney Opera House, they do every major big venue a year with a full 40-piece orchestra and all of that. And this was, I think I was like 14 or 15 for this, and I got down to like the last 2 of being their guest performer, and it would have meant I'd have been on tour for like 2 years with them, and I didn't get it, and it broke my heart for ages, and I lost a lot of confidence. But sure enough, it led to the Let It Shine thing in a weird way, because had I have taken that, I never would have gone down the Let It Shine route and not have got what I got from that. So yeah, it does feel like, on reflection now, I'm like, yeah, well, that was always going to happen, because I never would have got to do Let It Shine had I have got that gig.
One door closes, another door opens.
This is it. That's always the mentality I've had in my own mind.
Yeah. What was the connection you mentioned with Corinne Bailey Ray? You said there was a reason you chose
So basically, when I was young and I wanted to be a songwriter, I loved Corinne Bailey Ray. I loved the way her music sounded. It sounded really real, humble. It sounded a little bit Yorkshire to me. I was like, yeah, these lyrics relate to me. And I was like, I want to replicate that music. So I looked at the writers, John Beck, Steve Chrysantho, and I was like, I want to work with these guys. So I tried to get in touch with them, and to no avail. And I kept trying and just couldn't get hold of them. Everyone on the phone was like, yeah, we'll pass a message on. So I did a lot of research, found the American publishers, rang them, be like, I need to speak to Steve. I want to do this, blah, blah, blah. And one random day I get a phone call, and it is Steve Chrysantho, and he's like, you've been trying to contact me for months. What do you want? And I was like, I just want to come over and sing for you and show you what I can do, and see if you think I've got what it takes to kind of tell stories with my music. So he invited me to Hebden Bridge, which was where one of his studios was at the time. And I sat at the piano and played an original song, and he looked out the window, and I didn't hear anything. Afterwards, he was like, yeah, that's really good. I'll be in touch, sort of thing. And within 3 weeks, I was leaving university to sign a publishing deal with John Beck, Steve Chrysanthou, and Matthew Rumbold, who was the A&R at Virgin EMI, who had signed Corinne Bailey-Rae originally. And I was their first signing of their publishing company, which sent me all over the world, literally like every major country, to work with different artists and write music. So the reason why I chose that song, Let It Shine, is because it was kind of the first thing that I went and did. Do you know what? I'm not going to let this go. I'm not going to let this go. I want to work with these guys. And sure enough, I have. So every record I've done since, there's been a collaboration with those boys, writing different songs. And John Beck, I don't know if you know, he wrote Tasmin Archer's Sleeping Satellite, which was like #1 in 13 countries or something.
And you've done a cover of that.
I've done a cover of that. So I always pay homage to people I've worked with. And on the latest EP, The Green Time Machine, there's a song with John Beck and Matt Cardle on there called Blue. So I always kind of try and, keep hold of people I've worked with, like loyalty.
Did you ever meet Corinne Bailey-Rae? Have you met her?
Yeah, and she supported me when I was on the Let It Shine. She posted Tim Curtis on Twitter.
Fellow Leeds lass.
Yeah, exactly. So she was really, really supportive, and did a few like news articles and things like that. So yeah, I feel really proud having kind of not ownership, but having a version of that song that is me, that everyone knows that I sing that song.
Yeah.
Because it's just a great song, and it's got real good context behind it, because I know, based on the fact that I'm really good friends with those writers, they've explained to me how that was written and where they were when that was written, and it's a really humbling story. Like one of the writers of that song, while he was writing with Corinne, was delivering washing machines around Bradford as that song was being released and achieving these amazing things. He was still delivering washing machines, and for me, that's like real. And it was all recorded in a dingy basement and all of that sort of stuff. And I ended up, a few years after that, I ended up getting a massive mixing desk. It was called an Amec Big, that record was mixed and produced on.
Oh wow!
All of them. So yeah, loads of little personal history stuff.
What's coming out in the chat is that you're a great believer in destiny, but you make a lot of your own luck. You make it happen, and I think it's very inspiring to hear you talk.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think for me, it's one of those things that I know that I am happiest when I'm telling stories through music and whatnot. And when I see something and in my head, I'm like, I think this would really, really work for me and for others. You've got to sometimes put your own weight behind yourself and be like, do you know what? Actually, I'm gonna back myself here and see how far I can take it. And sometimes that's really paid off, and sometimes it hasn't. So
but you've got to keep trying, haven't you? You've got to keep doing it.
Well, 100%. You're a great example of how you can make that work.
Exactly.
Let It Shine was a musical about a boy band, wasn't it? And you were on the West End stage. I mean, that must have been an amazing experience.
Absolutely mind-blowing, because I like musical theatre, and I've done a little bit of musical theatre when I was younger, but the what's the word I'm looking for? The intensity of doing 11 shows a week. But for us, we were also doing press in every regional place every morning to promote the show. And for us, we also had to deal with kind of the fandom of coming from a TV show. So when we came out stage door, there'd be hundreds of people wanting to talk to you and sign stuff and pictures. So you wouldn't get home till like midnight every night, and then you'd eat, and then you'd lay awake because the adrenaline would be pumping through your body, and then you'd rinse and repeat and do it every week for whatever I think we did like 860 shows or something. So yeah, it was and the thing is the show itself was actually really emotional. So although it was Take That's Music, it was an original script written by Tim Firth, who obviously did the Calendar Girls and Kinky Boots, and it was actually about a group of, based on a true story as well, based on 5 girls, and one of them dies, and they're obviously fans of this boy band, and then they meet again like I think 20 years later.
20 years later, and because I've seen the show, but then I didn't know it was a true story. But then obviously they made the film not that long ago.
They made a film of it called Greatest Days, and then they rebranded the musical.
They rebranded the musical, and it went on tour. One of the things that I've never said to you, and do you know what? It's just popped in my head as well as you're talking about the show, because I know Rachel Lamberg.
Yes,
who was the main character in it? Because I was in a show with her years and years ago. And I remember coming to see it when it was at the Grand, and there was the hype around it was just massive. I don't know if you remember.
I do
when
remember,
when it was on,
yeah.
and just to see that on stage and to bring those Take That music, music of Take That to life, but then to be part of that. You've already said it was so intense, but must have been such a magical experience as well.
100%, because for me, not that there was archetype roles in it, but I was, because I'm a terrible dancer, I did get all of Gary's kind of signature songs. So I did Million Love Songs, I did Patience, I did a bit of Rule the World, all of those kind of songs that I grew up listening to, being like, oh yeah, I love Gary Barlow.
Well, you were kind of the main. You were kind of the main one in the band, because I remember seeing it. And
from a singing perspective, definitely, I was there for my voice, not my feet. And there was an amazing scene in it, Relight My Fire, and it, like, again, this is my working week. Was I'd do this all week, and then Friday night Lulu would turn up and do Relight My Fire with us. It was weird, really weird. And in that particular scene, all the boys had like these gorgeous gold chariot outfits on with their abs out and a
I remember,
doing this, and there was fire, and I was terrible dancing. So Kim Gavin, who choreographed the London Olympics and a lot of big shows, he choreographed the show, and he took one look and he was like, right, you go stand at the back with a whip and hold the chariot. You can still be in the gold garments with your abs out, but just don't move, don't do anything. So yeah, in that particular scene, I was there for my harmonies. But it's just, again, surreal, because another thing people sometimes don't get if you are on tour moving around all the time is you end up living in a bubble, and everyone on the outside of the bubble like evolves and things change all the time, but you're doing the same thing day in, day out. So a year passes and 2 years passes, and you're going back home and speaking to people, and so-and-so's had a baby, and someone's moved house, and someone's got a different job, and you're doing the same thing. You're singing the same 24 songs every night, doing the same interactions with fans, that sort of thing. So it literally bolts you out of reality for a while. And also when you're moving to different cities, doing these kind of high profile things and going on Graham Norton's radio show and stuff, it makes you feel, oh wow, I'm something, me. And then you go home and eat your tea, and it's just like, really,
well, that's amazing.
Everyone keeps you down to earth.
It's really, really crazy.
Yeah. You did take a break for a while. What was behind that decision?
So when we finished that show, it went to Germany, and we all did have the opportunity kind of to continue, but for a lot of people, I think they'd done that stint, and it was an amazing experience. And then for me, I never intended doing musical theatre. It was all about the writing, so I wanted to go back to that. So yeah, I travelled to Sweden for a bit and wrote a lot of music for different people and myself, and then decided to start a family and go down the adoption route and adopt a little 12-month-old boy called Barney. And that was kind of the right time for me, I feel, to like start a family, and got to enjoy a good few years just being a dad, and still doing music in the background, more composing stuff, but just kind of, again, reconnect with real life and advance my own personal life. We moved house, moved to Cherwell, which is a really lovely kind of family village area. And yeah, just live a little, I guess, it was the strategy in my head, because I knew eventually I'd return to kind of music. I didn't know how, if I was just going to focus on writing or if I'd go back to me singing. But I think at the time I was just kind of like, do you know what, actually, I need to live a little bit to get something going to make me feel like I want to do stuff again. And that's the avenue I chose, and it was obviously the best decision I ever made.
What was fatherhood like for you?
Amazing. Yeah, it was obviously, like I've said, I come from a really big family, so that was always going to happen for me, and it just changed my perspective on a lot of things that I used to worry and stress about, that then you don't when you've got a little one. Your perspective on everything does change quite quickly. And just silly things, like feeding time. You just fed all the food and you're like, yep, done. And 5 minutes later, six it all back up. And that becomes your main problem of the day, rather than whether or not you're hitting a mark on a stage and, a light's not working, so you have to adapt to what you're doing or whatever. Just completely different contrasts of things. And I think I got to reconnect with myself, and it definitely helped me write much better music, and also just explore why I was doing it again, because sometimes when you're doing the same repetitive thing, you lose a little bit of love for it, not because you don't love it, but just because familiarity breeds contempt, doesn't it? So you get a bit sick of it, and I was like, I'm done with this for a long time. You know, walking in boots and Patience comes on, I'm walking out, because I've done it 860 times, not including the rehearsals. So I'm just like, I've heard enough to take that for my lifetime.
You needed like a reset.
Absolutely, just a different perspective, a cold, hard reset that makes me go, yep, I'm back now. And I'd say I definitely got a gorgeous slice of Yorkshire life, because I lived in Otley for a bit. And
Beautiful
you know,
place,
just near the Chevin, go in my back garden, you've got this
it's gorgeous,
there. So you know, I did. I felt like I reconnected with myself, and that helped me figure out.
And how old is Barney now?
He is nearly 6.
Nearly 6,
and he's doing really well. Just had school photos through, and I don't know if you know this about school photos, but they normally are horrendous. Last year's school photo, he looks like a Netflix killer. It's like this in the photo, but this year's really lovely. He's like got a gorgeous little pose.
Looks angelic.
Yeah, he does. He looks really good.
You can send this one out, can you? To
100%. This will be gifts for people for birthdays and stuff now, because it's a really lovely book.
Brilliant.
He's doing great, and he's got an amazing personality, and obviously he has also adapted with having a parent who works in a creative industry where there's lots of rehearsals, and obviously I'm jumping ahead here now because he is 6, but now I'm back fully involved in doing music. There is a lot of rehearsals and a lot of gigs, and he is like part of that now and gets it. It's like, oh, you've got rehearsals, or you're playing piano with so and so, and he's like interested, and that's, you know, there's a little part of my brain that's like, maybe one day I do want to do something musical theatre again, so that he can come watch it.
He can enjoy it.
And that might be the next chapter at some point for me.
Well, you did a charity gig for me, didn't you? And you came over in the farm day. And you brought Barney along, and he was watching it and watching you perform and everything. Yeah, it was great.
And then he helped pack away at the end, didn't he?
He did.
Like,
You got your own little roadie.
He sounds
He's this
great.
big free roadie. I don't even have to pay him.
He's brilliant.
He is,
He's brilliant.
He loves experiences. So
Do you have a lot of support from your family? Family very much involved with your life?
So yes and no. My family are all spread out, and obviously now all of my siblings have full families of their own. A lot of nieces and nephews.
But your Christmases are noisy.
Like 26 nieces and nephews and 3 godchildren. It's an expensive Christmas normally. But yeah, we do speak. I speak to my parents and my siblings. A few of them are coming to my last gig, and yeah, it's really nice that they've got to see kind of me doing very humble, normal gigs in pubs and clubs, and then they've been and seen me on the West End, and all of those amazing memories. Like I remember my mum and dad coming to one of the West End shows, and it was actually in the Theatre Royal Haymarket, which was the same place that Billy Elliot was filmed as in the film. And for my mum and dad, that was their contextual relevance. So when they were going to that theatre, they would like, this is the theatre from Billy Elliot, and then they were really proud of that. And I was like, yeah, you know, that's really cool.
I'm not surprised they're proud. I'm not surprised.
Um,
What was the turning point that made you go back into the music industry?
It sounds really silly to say, but it was all kind of accidental arranging. So originally I thought, right, I want to do music. I want to write my own music, sing my own music, and go out and do my own tour. But I want to stay independent. There was lots of opportunities to sign to people. But if any musicians are watching, sometimes when you sign these things, you give away a lot of what you can do. You kind of get told what you can and can't do, which I've experienced firsthand. So I was like, if I'm doing this, I'm doing it fully independent, and I'm going to back myself financially and see what we can do. And that was when the Kuill thing started. I was like, how do I escape the fact that if I try and have a music career independently, I'll always be brought back to everything I've previously done that's not about my music? And that's when Kuill was born. So it was very cool, because I was sending demos out to different artists, some famous, some not, saying, listen to this song. And in the past, that had always worked. I'd get an email back saying, great song, let's meet, let's do this, whatever. When I was sending songs this time and people were checking out what I did, I got very polite no's and sometimes ignored. And it was definitely because of the reality TV thing. You know, I felt a bit judged, kind of like my credibility as a writer and an artist was diminished because of doing reality TV and stuff. So I wanted to escape that, but the only way to do that was kind of a full reset, go completely anonymous at the time, which is what it was. And then I started releasing and sending things out as Kuill, who obviously no one had ever heard of.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, immediately, bang, replies, opportunities to do this, that. And I was like, you
Wow.
bastards. Because it highlighted to me the shallowness of the industry. And it also cemented the fact that, I'm staying independent for this reason, because you just highlighted how fickle people can be. The fact that you've now judged this song on the song's merits because there's no backstory anymore. So I put together a tour. It was a storytelling tour, kind of telling the journey of all of these things with an album and explaining to people why I was kind of rebranding as Kuill. And we toured that, London, the North, Manchester, everywhere we could take it. And it was amazing. Got to pick and put together my own band, which has grown exponentially. Got like 4 guitarists now and a violinist and everything. Crazy. And we did this amazing show in London. And after that show, we got contacted by the producers for The Voice. And
so how did that come about then, going back into reality TV?
In the London show, I'd done this big spiel about how I never want to do TV again because it made me feel this way. And then immediately after the show, I get contacted and saying, oh, we'd like you to consider this. And immediately I said no. And then a week or two passed and I got another email saying, we'd love for you to come and talk to us about this. So I was like, you know what, I am going to do this because, again, it's something that's popped up and it's now popped up again. And there was a lot of rumours who would be on the panel that year as well, because I think that was the first year they were swapping it up and replacing people.
Changing it
so I thought this could be an interesting thing. Went for the meeting, which again was in Manchester, and they'd explained that they knew who I was and stuff, as in like they'd seen what I'd done. And I says, look, my only clause, if I was to do this, that I'd have to be cemented on is it can't be about anything I've done before. It has to be Kuill. It has to be unknown. The story just has to be, I'm a dad and I'm coming back to music after being a dad. I don't want any of, my musical theatre, Gary Barlow's name dropped, nothing. I want to be judged on the merits of being Kuill now. And they agreed to it, which was amazing. And then, of course, I went and did this show as Kuill, and I'd sung an amazing song called Don't Give Up by Kate Bush and...
Peter Gabriel.
Yeah, Peter Gabriel, yeah. And I was like, great song, really meaningful to me. And yeah, I thought, what a great opportunity to sell some tickets to my next tour.
Well, yeah, of course.
I did it, and it was a really, really cool experience. And obviously, I got a team, Sir Tom Jones, which is...
But it must be nerve-wracking looking at those
I know,
Do you know what it is?
chairs,
It's so nerve-wracking because even when you think you're doing amazing, because you can't see their facial reactions and no one's turned or anything, and you do understand that there's a drama to these things, and that's what they are milking.
Well, they've got producers in their ears telling them when to turn.
It makes you think, it's like, oh God, I've been set up here. They're not turning, and you can. I'm going to have to deal with this. I'm going to have to speak to people about this.
Yeah.
And you're waiting, and at the very end, I delivered like the high note thing, and then obviously Tom turned, and afterwards when I watched it on TV, you then can see what the other judges are saying and doing, and they were all very complimentary about the song choice and what I was doing. And yeah, it was a really cool refresh of and I will say, when I did Let It Shine, which was produced by Andrew Cartmel, who also produces the Eurovision, the way that show was done for contestants was like sublime. It was really respectful, really nice. You didn't feel like cattle or anything. And when we did The Voice, it was very, very good, even though it was on a different channel. I think ITV on it. You managed to maintain your dignity for the whole thing, regardless what happened. They were really respectful. And then I went to Liverpool, got to one of my, it sounds like I'm really bossy now, but I was going to say one of my terms again, but you've got to, one of the things I've learned is you've got to put out there what it is you want so that no one can get confused. So when we got to the next stage, I was like, I want to sit and play piano, because if I don't progress further, that's why I'm here, is to showcase who I am and not be a gimmick. So they let me sit and play piano. I got to do the Miley Cyrus Used to Be Young song, and it was amazing. We did it in, I think it was St. George's Hall in Liverpool. Amazing sound. And Hannah Waddingham was our guest mentor, and she was amazing.
Yeah,
she was
I love her.
She was so amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, so did that. amazing. Didn't get picked for the semis. They like choose 3. There was a lot of us, and everyone was exceptional. It was like really exceptional. So everyone who went through really deserved it. But I was more than happy because I never, just again being honest, I never thought I'd win. I never thought I'd get to the end just based on the track record. I don't think ITV would allow a BBC show winner to win an ITV show either.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not doing it for that reason. Anything I do, I just want to do it kind of with grace and do the best for me sort of thing. And yeah, I'm really glad I did it because it did unlock more doors. I ended up going and performing at Twickenham live to 80,000 people, God Save the King,
For
and
the rugby.
Jerusalem, and that was just mind-blowing. Never thought I'd get to do something like that. Got a load of bookings, sold out my next tour, and again, as an independent artist, it's really difficult to describe how hard it is to sell a lot of tickets and get them to turn up to your shows. And we did a massive like 450 seater show, and it was the highlight of what I'd say, even though I've done all these amazing things, that's like been the highlight to me of having people sing my songs and watching them sing my songs, which is just really cool. So yeah, it's been a whirlwind, I guess. And doing the show the second time around was very different because I had Barney and I was leaving the filming and stuff, and I wasn't like second guessing myself, being like, was that good enough? I was just like, right, I've got a child to feed and
priorities had changed.
And I was just like, it will be what it will be because this part of my life will not change now. So it changed the perspective for me and made it a lot easier to deal with. Whereas I think when I was a lot younger doing Let It Shine, there was a lot of anxiousness and self-doubt and all of those things that you're like, oh, what if people hate me on TV, you know, like Cher Lloyd sort of thing, because she experienced a lot of that, you know, where people just didn't connect originally. And you think about all of that sort of stuff when you're doing that sort of journey through TV. But yeah, I'm really glad I did it. And it didn't, the identity of the show didn't overtake kind of who I was. I was kind of able to slip gracefully in and out and get all the wonderful adulation and the gorgeous comments that I can use forever on a poster. And yeah, I'm super glad I did it. I think
so this Kuill was your whole new rebirth in a sense, because it was Curtis
that
you were when you did Shine.
And it's really funny because now industry wise, I've got lots of people who only know me as Kuill and call me Kuill, and then obviously family and friends who call me Curtis. So sometimes there's that jarring moment where people who only know me as Kuill hear someone call me Curtis and vice versa, and they're like, oh, that's weird because I would never call you Kuill, and then that person's like, well, I would never call you
I remember
Curtis.
once seeing Harry Hill in an airport with his mum and dad, and they were calling him Matty.
Yes.
And I was thinking, is it him or not? But his name's Matthew. He's called Matthew.
Oh, I didn't know
To be fair,
that.
a lot of people ask me this. It's probably the number one question is why have you got a name that's not your name? And I was like, it's pretty much every single singer does it. Like Bruno Mars, Lady Gaga, Rihanna. None of these singers have that name by birth.
Madonna's not Madonna.
Exactly. It's a great, you can do this literally, you can take a hat off and on. So I'm doing a show or whatever this Saturday, and when that show ends, I can take the Kuill hat off and be Curtis.
And just be Curtis,
it's mentally like liberating. It's really nice.
Because I said to you, which do you prefer, Kuill or Curtis?
Because I know you can call me anything.
You see, you can call me anything.
Matt, special friends can call you.
Whatever I feel like on the day. But no, it's amazing, and the journey that you've been on is just absolutely fantastic. And just
I want to know what Tom Jones was like. Was
I
he
know,
great?
yeah.
Do you know what? He was very, very funny and just very tall in comparison to me, 5'4" or whatever. But he was really lovely and really graceful, and said some things for me that, again, kind of reaffirmed what I'm doing with my music clearly comes across. He's talked about the fact that he could hear the story of when I was singing a song, and he really loved my voice and my range and stuff. And it was, and especially at the next stage when we got other comments, it was just really lovely how supportive he was, and kind of it was it wasn't even a difficult thing for him to just be like, yeah, you've got an
Yeah.
amazing voice.
Well, everyone talks about the passion and the emotion in your voice. And like you say, your storytelling side to your voice. Did Nicole Scherzinger say she was in love? She wanted to marry your voice?
She did. She says, she says, I want to marry your voice. Your voice is my husband. Yeah. Which she still says, which is lovely. But yeah, again, it's really, really bizarre. I completely forgot to say I supported Russell Crowe.
Oh my God.
So he came to Leeds because he loves Leeds United, did a show that was absolutely rammed. You couldn't move, and needed a support act that was local, and that ended up being me. And what an experience, because obviously I've seen him in films, and he's in some Marvel films, which I love. And he's there sat, having a cup of tea, getting ready with his band to go on, and I'm doing my set.
Was that last year?
Yeah.
Oh,
literally,
yes, I remember
all
that
these
happening.
things just happen, and I'm there in a dressing room, and he ended up giving me like 15 boxes of tea bags or something that all had his name on, which I've still got some in my cupboard. And just these weird, surreal, and for my dad, for example, who loved, he's got the Gladiator helmet in a cabinet at home, and these little contextual things for my family members that see things a certain way, for them, it's like, justifying what I'm doing.
So nothing else you do matters, but they met Russell Crowe.
There we go, yeah. The fact that I've worked with Russell Crowe, who is, and has
He's
done
made
some
it.
incredible things, and I'm there having a cup of tea with him and talking about silly stuff. And it's just one of them weird things that after Let It Shine, I'd kind of accepted the fact. I was like, that was probably my moment of doing something crazy, and now whatever is after this will be
path you're on
great,
is a different
but
one,
it is just what it is. And then to get to do it all again and do the TV thing and have that kind of exposure and do TV shows and stuff again, it's just not what I thought I'd be doing. And yeah, I'm really grateful for
So who
having
knows
that
what the
second.
future holds?
Exactly.
Well, I mean, your highlight of your career must have been singing "Angels" with Matt
There we go.
in the
Again,
home
just,
carers charity single that you did.
Which was
It's
amazing because obviously we did it at Abbey Road Studios, which for someone like me, coming from the background I come from, it's not the first thing you think of. You don't go, I'm going to record something and I'm going to go to Abbey Road Studios to do it, because there's financial implications. It's very far. It's a lot of work. So to get to do that at any age, I guess, and if you are like a normal musician, you are very, very grateful to do that, because not a lot of people get to do stuff like that.
Is it a big ask of me to ask you to give us a little bit of a taster of your voice? I know, just suddenly out of the blue. Maybe something from the new album, just a little bit of a line for us. I know it's a big thing.
Yeah, I might do
it.
It's early, guys, so
morning.
please excuse
Cold
the
morning in
awful
Leeds.
voice. This song I'm about to perform, thankfully, was an official charts top 40 album, again entirely independently, so that's from fans pre-ordering and saving stuff, and I'm super grateful for that, because artists spend hundreds of thousands of pounds on campaigns to achieve these things, and I've done it just off the back of fans, so I'm really grateful for that. I'll do Green Time Machine. Let me think how I can do it. Me and my green time machine, it's giving me a life I can't believe. No worrying and waiting for me. Someday they will watch the end of me. Life goes rushing by, my eyes are open. I just wanted to feel alive. I watch myself move in slow motion. I just wanted to feel alive. I've been flying far beyond the clouds. Take me back to days before the doubt. Far from all the things that try to tear me down. I'm stuck here in the past. I'm trying to get back to me and my green time machine. Show me everything that I could be. Give me strength and hope can set me free. 'Cause I've been losing faith, and time is all it takes to believe. That's
Oh
like a
my
version
word.
Amazing.
Thank you.
That is
It was awful.
It
but
was
for the record,
not.
It was like, but
I
yeah,
was getting
few worse
goosebumps.
things.
I know, it
Is
was
that one of your
amazing.
own? That's-
Yeah, so that is the song Green Time Machine off of my EP Green Time Machine, which is kind of like a smaller album basically. So I did my first 2 albums and I thought I'll do a little mini album explaining an idea I've got. And the idea of it was there's this green time machine that we all experience things in our lives, good and bad, that you sometimes get caught up in and you're like, could I have changed that and would it have changed who I am today? And the idea of this EP was having this ability to go back in time and change things, and whether or not you should change these things, like when you fall out with family members or friends, or you let opportunities go, you say no rather than you get kicked off or something, and you're like, should I have gone down a different route with things? And it was all about that sort of thing, dealing with like anxieties of how much do you need to do until you feel accomplished with yourself, sort of thing. And I guess at certain points in like my career, I definitely got caught up with the idea of, I need to do this to prove to people that I have got what it takes, sort of thing. And in some respects, that idea has spurred me on and motivated me, but it's also been a terrible aggravator for anxiety and making me feel like rubbish all the time. And trying to let go of that and be like, do you know what? This is all going to be what it will be. And I'm just going to keep being authentic with what I'm trying to say. And that's kind of where I'm at now. So go
very
back in the
wise
studio soon.
words. Very wise words.
Definitely.
And what, just briefly, obviously you've got the album coming out. What's next on the horizon for you?
For me, I'm going to take a big break after this final show because I have been on tour for 8 months and I'm a little bit tired and I want to do a bit more family life stuff. There's talks at the minute of maybe expanding the family sooner rather than later because I'd love a little girl. So take a bit of time for that. And then basically write the next album, and hopefully my second album got a number 31 in the top 40, and then this Green Time Machine got number 24. Even though everything I've just said about chasing things that make you feel validated, I'd love a top 10 and then I'd be happy. I don't want a number 1, just want a top 10 to be like progression, independent. So I think that's the last thing. The next album, I know what it's called and I've written a few things for it. It's called Sonder, and it's probably going to come out late 2026, I think. Then we'll see. Then
we'll put the links to everything on here as well. So if anyone wants to hear the whole thing. So we always ask our guests to bring in a couple of things, something that means Yorkshire tea, first of all. What? Now that's Yorkshire tea with a difference.
It is. So it's for 2 reasons, actually. So Yorkshire tea has accompanied me everywhere I've gone, no matter how glamorous it has been. So I have drunk Yorkshire tea in the dingiest of cellars in people's studios. And I've also drunk Yorkshire tea in a dressing room next door to a whole host of celebrities. So it's been there for me whenever I've needed a moment of home just to kind of ground myself, because sometimes experiences can be overwhelming and something can just be like, whoa, has that just happened? And I'm like, actually, let me just remind myself who I am. It's also cherry Bakewell flavour, which is very unique. It's just a tinge of cherry Bakewell. So and I do love a sweet thing. And obviously when you're a performer and stuff, you've got to watch what you eat. So I try and slip in the nice things in other ways. It was actually also, I used to get people on tour buying me Yorkshire tea everywhere I went. So at certain points I just had boxes and boxes. Most of my travel cases going venue to venue was just full of Yorkshire tea. Which is also very funny because I used to get people at stage door being like, it's not even made in Yorkshire. And then I'd always reply the same thing. I'd be like, oh, well, you're going to get a shock next time you have a Mars bar. Because branding wise, it's interesting. But for me, it's just that little taste of home wherever I can go and it can just pop it in my pocket.
But with a bit of uniqueness.
Yeah, exactly.
And a little touch of sweetness too, which sort of sums you up.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. It's really nice. So we're going to have one of these in a minute because it's really tasty. Just
let's do it.
Subtle taste of marzipan. But I love Yorkshire tea.
And also something special to you. What's something that's special to you, Kuill, Curtis?
Is it in Yorkshire in general, or
no? Just something means something to you.
What means something to me? I guess family, as in like who you choose as family. Obviously, like my biological family I love and have supported me, but I've had the wonderful opportunity of choosing and evolving my own family, obviously with adoption, and also with my friends and colleagues who have come into my life through music and then stayed and been part of this like amazing journey as well. So I'll just give you a little explanation of someone I know. There's a guy called Mark Johnston who lives in Lanzarote, who I met when I was very young and performed with him, and he's an amazing guy, performs every night on the island. And my last finale show, the big sold out one after I'd done all the TV, I was like, I want him to experience this because he's been part of this journey. And he also wrote one of the songs on the album. So I flew him over from Lanzarote with his family. He performed the whole show and got to play everything under the sun. And for him, in his professional life, you know, he's in his late 50s. It was the biggest show he's ever done. And he's got that, and I've got that as a memory now of like our union in music, I guess. And it was just amazing to have him physically here, because when we met all those years ago, we never would have been able to say, oh, one day you'll be flying to Leeds to do this big sold out show, it's going to be amazing and you're going to be part of it. And stuff like that makes me feel really kind of proud, because I think that's definitely a Yorkshire mentality, is loyalty and bringing people up with you when you do something. I'm all about that in general, I think, because I want to see people who really want to be there, like enjoy the best moments rather than do all the hard graft. Like the pianist in my band is called Tyler, and he did Let It Shine with me, and he had the amazing experience of Gary turning up at his cafe in Scarborough and surprising him, and then he did the show, and then he got knocked out at the Ollie Murs stage. And we were very similar types of boys, so we'd kind of decided between ourselves, we were like, it's probably going to be one or the other here based on who we are. And obviously it was me. And then years later we ended up reconnecting through the show, and now he's like full-time in my band and I see him every week, and we've got those amazing memories from all long ago sharing with that, but we've now got these amazing new memories from the shows and the success we've done of these tours, and it's really nice. And I consider him family. I consider Mark family. So yeah, I'd say family to me is like the special thing that at the minute makes me want to do everything.
Oh,
Wow, that's great.
well, it's been absolutely lovely to chat to you today.
Likewise.
And I'm very, very proud that I gave you your first school prize.
You did. I remember all them years ago. Not only that, I don't remember the gentleman's name because I think he was like a trainee at Calendar at the time. But I remember being 14 and you reading my name on the Calendar News and doing a little stint and stuff, and I played piano. I've got the footage somewhere, actually.
Oh my word!
And it's
We
like,
need to see that.
and for
How
me,
to find that?
well, what's weird is being 14 and hearing someone on the Calendar be like, and here's Curtis from the school. He writes his own songs and he does this. And I was like, I've made it. I've made it. There I am on TV. And it's interesting how your perspective shifts as time goes on.
Yeah.
But what's magical for me is the feeling that I felt has never gone away. So that feels just as significant to me as being sat on Lorraine and having Gary say who you are or something. Like, I've got an amazing clip of Gary Barlow talking about me to like other colleagues, basically saying that I'm a good singer and taking the mick out of me a bit, being like, oh, all right, you know, he's coming to replace me, sort of thing. And you get to keep those things, but then I also get to keep, you know, especially when I'm a lot younger and you just don't know what direction life's going to be in. And I reckon all of those little things definitely has paved the way.
They have indeed.
No, well, I'm proud to have been a little bit of it.
Exactly, and this is like coming full circle.
Full
Back
circle.
here again.
100%. It's like always the family thing. It ends up
Yeah.
finding
Yeah.
itself, you know.
Well, it's
Like
been
it's
an
meant to
absolute
be.
pleasure, hasn't it?
It has. It's been amazing.
Great.
Thank you
It's been
so
great.
much.
Let's have a cup of this.
Quill,
Yeah.
for coming and joining us and just being so open, I think, about your journey and everything that you've gone
Thank
through.
you.
It's inspiring to hear, and obviously such an incredible talent. So we can't wait for what's to come from
Thank you
Quill.
so much. And when you get to season 15 and I'm all finished, I'll do a much darker version for you of like all the really nitty gritty stuff.
All the
you know,
real
yeah,
stuff,
all the
like
real
Tom.
Yeah,
stuff,
you'll dish
you
the
know.
dirt. You'll
Everything,
dish the
yeah.
dirt.
Oh, well, thank you very, very much for coming on Yorkshire
Thank you.
Talks.
Thank you very much.
Thank
It's been
you
a
so
pleasure.
much.
Thanks.
And that's just about it from us.
It
Another
is. We
week.
will be back next week. Please do like, subscribe, follow us, do everything that you need to do where you get your
Yeah.
podcasts, and we will see you next week. Take care.
Bye for now.